We all know Kenneth Copeland hasn't been handling Trump's loss, well, at all, really. He laughed like a fucking maniac for a solid 52 seconds straight when he found out the race had been called for Biden. Something he apologized for, by the way. Well, not the laugh, but he apologized for making people think he hated Biden. He said he loves Biden, he loves Jesus, and he loves me. Yes, me, personally, and you. He loves everybody. Quote, even though I don't know you, I love you, end quote. I know we've already established the dude is a creeposaurus, but I want to really rub it in so we don't forget. Anyways, there was other stuff going on Kenneth Copeland Ministries' YouTube channel at the time too. One of his pastors, Terry Pearsons, was holding a sermon where she prayed for something you wouldn't expect to hear coming from the freedom and guns and liberty crowd. She said, quote, expose it all, Lord, and Lord, if it be your will and if it be necessary, another election, another voting day, whatever it takes under your kingdom, O God, to bring it all in line. Bring it all in line. Bring it all in line with the will of God. End quote. Wow, okay, I thought these people were pro-democracy, but I keep forgetting that these are the same people that were caught wearing these shirts at a Trump rally. I'd rather be a Russian than a Democrat. In case you haven't noticed, these people have completely given up on democracy, and they're ready to live under a dictatorship, with Donald Trump as their leader. For those of you who don't know, Charisma is a Pentecostal media platform. Evangelicals and televangelists are a form of Pentecostal too. Obviously, there are a ton of evangelical representatives, but this one is among the highest ranking media for them. So it comes as no surprise to me to find that Charisma has been pushing Trump's election fraud narrative since day one. They supported him in 2016, and they're supporting him now too. Their CEO, Stephen Strang, published an interview with Dutch Sheets, another Dominionist, where they talked about the supposed massive voter fraud that seems to have taken place, quote unquote. Sheets said God told him before the election, quote, that there was coming a great war in the spirit and for the soul of our nation after the vote. This is going to be overturned and President Trump is going to be put back in office for 4 years. God has begun a turnaround in this nation. He's not going to stop it now. He's promised us that he's recalibrating this nation. He's resetting this nation. A third great awakening is coming. We're moving back into our destiny as a nation. End quote. What's our destiny? Are we destined to be a Christian nationalist country? This kind of talk is chilling as hell. Apparently, Charisma published a story about a 24-hour prayer vigil being set up at Lafayette Park in D.C. According to the article, quote, to engage in on-site spiritual warfare to protect the president's overwhelming victory. These people are going to be the downfall of the country. To them, there's a silver lining behind every mushroom cloud. They're waiting for Armageddon to come. Any 5 minutes now, as my mom used to say. The sooner, the better. And they'll do anything they can to accelerate the process. A self-fulfilling prophecy. They want the collapse of civilization, so they'll do whatever it takes to get it. Pastors have been absolutely disintegrating over the loss of their candidate. It's really sad to see, but it's really interesting to watch the mental gymnastics play out. When Trump lost, I got on Twitter and said, God's in control, right? So that must mean he picked Joe Biden. Well, Pastor Andrew Womack thoroughly disagrees. This is what he had to say. Quote, I heard a leader in the body of Christ say that God sovereignly puts in the president. So if Biden ends up being the one, then God put him in. And man, I just hate that. I disagree with that 1000%. He went on to say, God doesn't put people in who are going to kill and expand the killing of babies by the millions, even ones born alive. He's not the one putting in people who are pushing the LGBTQ agenda and causing social upheaval. He's not the one putting in people that are going to socialize and radicalize everything. That's not God. End quote. There's so much to unpack here. Where do I even start? First of all, nobody that I have ever heard in my life, certainly not U.S. politicians, stand for killing babies after they're born. This is so completely ridiculous. I don't even know where to start with it. But it's a good fundraising slogan. This is what Mark Taylor had to say. Quote, are you going to submit your congregation to Biden? You don't think for 1 second he's not going to shut these churches down? You're saying you're going to submit to that? You're going to give up your guns and submit your sheep to this demon called Joe Biden? Give me a break. End quote. These people live in a fantasy land. He literally believes that Biden is a demon. They don't live in the same reality as the rest of the world. How do we break them out of this? This isn't just some random asshole on the street. These are major, well-known megachurch pastors who represent the biggest voting bloc in the Republican Party. This is a problem that we're going to have to grapple with. Richard Land had something to say about Biden's election too. Here's what he said. Quote, it could be that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are a judgment of God on the United States. For our sin, for our idolatry, for our child sacrifice. End quote. What? What is happening? I really don't even know where to go with this. But I'll tell you this. When Trump won in 2016, yes, people were upset. Some people were very upset. Some people cried, but religion wasn't mixed in to the degree that it is now. Religion makes good people do bad things, and it allows bad people to justify atrocities. I fear for where the country is going. Not because of Joe Biden. He doesn't scare me at all, but because of where Donald Trump brought people like this. They legitimately believe that the end is here, and we have to start preparing for Armageddon. They're ready to suit up and become one with the apocalypse. Eventually, we're going to have to find a way to deprogram these people, one way or another. Back in October, Ralph Reed, former head of the Christian Coalition and current right-wing activist, made some interesting claims about the election and how evangelicals would vote. Here's what he said, quote, "I think the 81% of the evangelical vote that Trump received 4 years ago is the floor. I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that he could end up in the mid-80s," end quote. Remember, the evangelical voting bloc is a voting bloc that steers the Republican Party. They'd never win another election without evangelical support. They're usually older, which means they're very invested in their religion, and megachurch evangelical pastors have made a point of seamlessly intertwining politics and religion. So what did Trump actually get? He got, wait for it, about 76%, a drop from 2016. That doesn't surprise me at all, actually. I think the reason Trump got less evangelical support from 2016 is twofold. First of all, he revealed what a monster he is, especially from the Bible's perspective. And from a freedom perspective, he called the active military into the US, armed with bayonets. He's had like 16 divorces. He's had affairs with film stars. He's used the Bible as a prop. It doesn't get less evangelical than that. I can't think of a Republican leader who would appeal to evangelical voters less than Donald Trump did. But at the same time, his enthusiasm was up. Trump voters are supporters for life. They're part of the cult. They are guaranteed to come out and vote, even if it meant crawling over broken glass for him. Unfortunately, Trump needed raw numbers, not enthusiasm. And he just didn't get it. So why was Ralph Reed wrong? I think he was wrong because he overestimated the value of enthusiasm and underestimated Trump's appeal to religious people. If you like what I do and you want to make sure I can continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, you can support me on Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. I sell all kinds of shirts and stickers and stuff on there. Second, you can support me by checking out my Etsy store. I sell 3D printed stands for every system, from the original Nintendo to the Xbox One. And finally, if you want to support me in other ways, you can check me out on my other channels. I have the podcast channel, which is where I talk about whatever's on my mind. Politics, social issues, whatever. You can also find it everywhere podcasts can be found. Or you can check out the videos on my main channel where I focus on destructive cults. As it is with most channels these days, I rely on the support of viewers like you to keep my channel alive, so sharing my work is extremely helpful. Anyways, check me out in all those places if you haven't already. Thanks for listening, guys.